Jamaican art is among the best in the Caribbean, producing some renowned artists. This week on CAMEO, we take a look at a few Jamaican sculptors. Jamaica School of Art educated Raymond Watson is not only a sculptor but an educator. He has had many exhibitions, some of these being Sculpture in the Park and New Horizons.
I went to Jamaica School of Art before it was the Edna Manley College, the Cultural Training Center. And I actually went there to study photography. But I got caught by the third dimension and I specialized in sculpture. Sculpture is a pretty involved process, or processes. You could be working in clay and going to cast it. That means you're going to have to make a mold and so forth and so on. But the whole thing generally starts from drawing. Drawing is where I work on my ideas and test out possibilities before I get into the actual sculptural material. In recent years, though, I've been working more directly in welded steel, largely because it's linear and my drawings tended to be linear anyway. It's almost like drawing in space, so I tend to work it out a little bit more directly with the welded steel. Creativity, I suppose, is more about exploration. It's more about, well, for me, it's conveying ideas. The figure is essentially a medium to convey ideas rather than just representing a figure per se. Sculpture, largely because it's three-dimensional. It takes up space. It also opens doors for public works, which I've done a few of those as well. I remember in 1990, me and my brother put on an exhibition in the park on Trafalgar Road, opposite Petrojam. And that was a kind of eye-opener to a lot of people, the possibilities of public sculpture and what happens. Those are the ones that I think are probably my most obvious kind of successes. Style comes about basically again through that exploration, that development of ideas, that seeking to convey ideas, partly through the process of manipulating the medium, and partly through what your inclinations are. Usually I exhibit, which kind of opens doors. I let people see my work and sell it that kind of way. There are various means, you know, and nowadays there's the internet and all of these other vehicles that you can use to monetize your imagery. Challenges usually is about selling the work, telling the truth, getting it across, getting it out there. Nowadays there are a lot less functional galleries than there used to be, so there's less avenue to get your work out there and get your images out there. From that perspective, and I suppose you just have to compensate with other means of getting your things out there, getting it visible, getting people to see them. Very often you have to convince people about imagery, particularly when it's a public work. You know, convincing them that it will be accepted and that it will convey what the object of the work is supposed to do. There is the development of your creative process and the imagery you want to create and how that develops. I don't know if I could call it a challenge, but it's always a continuous development and you're trying to explore more possibilities and widen your scope, I suppose. And leave your mark. Well, artists tend to find ways of getting their work out there one way or the other, because you want to do the work. You want the work to fund the rest of the work. So you tend to find ways of getting it out there. It's really about PR, it's about advertising, putting yourself out there, which is not cheap. So you have to find ways of getting your work out there, getting people to know what you're doing and how you're doing it and what is happening in your development. And work it from there. I'm not so sure if I can tell you what we need. We probably need a lot more understanding of how art plays in our whole life, generally speaking, and how it's a kind of mark of where we are and where we've been and how we've lived throughout our lives. And we've always been very diverse in the art that we produce, from self-taught right through highly educated, and all the various kind of niches of the visual arts. When I started out, there were people collected art a lot more than they do now. So now it's almost as if you're re-educating people to the value of art. I could produce anywhere between 20 pieces for the year, I suppose. I really don't know. I've never really counted them. I'm not sure. Very often I'm not working on one piece at a time, so it's kind of hard to judge exactly how but they tend to run into months, more or less. My immediate plan is to exhibit. I have a studio full of work I need to exhibit. Long-term plans is pretty much to make sculpture, essentially. Exactly how and when and thing will work out as I go along. Apart from getting an education and learning and research on what sculpture is and what sculpture has been, I would probably advise that you find ways of monetizing your imagery from early, because that is really where the rubber hits the road. You need to live.
I don't create art for the purpose of sale. If my art sells, that's great. I have a day job and I hustle other jobs, which are also in the creative field. But I use my sculptural ability across my fields of what I do. So I take what I've learned to develop other entities and other ways of making money. But for the actual process of making art, that's all for me. That's really all for me. I would say initially, I firstly will always do more dark, edgy, slightly controversial. That would be where I would start most of my work. Most people would consider it to be grotesque. In those early years, definitely macabre, because that's what intrigues me. I like bringing beauty to that darkness because I'm not afraid of it. I'm comfortable within the darkness. More recent years, I've been pushing my boundaries, trying to teach myself more the fashion, high fashion, and mixing it with my dark side. Because I'm always saying to students, you can either blend into the art in the world or you can be different and stand out. But you need to figure out what your actual style is and develop it to make you different from everyone else. And so for me, it's always going to be trying to make sure every single piece that I do, anytime that I'm doing any kind of work, I stand out. Well, I teach the students the welding and woodwork as a technical part of the courses. I also oversee the safety inside the department. Outside of that, I am one of the final year advisors to most final year students. Because of the many years that I've been working here, and also a lot of projects that I've worked on, I have a lot of information on materials, capabilities of certain things, places to go if you need certain different doohickeys, things made. Because a lot of students, they don't understand the logistics of what they want in here to get it physical. As a youngster, I wasn't really deterred by or concerned with if I was going to get my art out. I just wanted to be creative and produce. After final year, or even in my final year, I did 5 larger than life-size pieces in metal. As far as I was concerned, I was going to pack them up, carry them home, and they were just going to be garden pieces at my house. A friend of the family, Colin Hilton, at the time, he ran Guilt Trip. Actually, I brought him down here like the week before the opening, and he loved the work. He bought one like right then and there. And I was like, wow, this is actually something that can actually like develop. But my brain doesn't turn off. I wish it would. I wish I had an off switch. I'd wake in the middle of the night and an idea would be, it would wake me and I have to jot it down. Firstly, I'm a technical person. As much as I'm more creative in my process, I'm really technical, so I work out all the logistics first. What's the best way, what's the best material, where can I access certain things, what is going to cost me the less route, cheapest route to get the finished result and still keep the quality high. I love working with new and different materials, so that's also always a challenge. For example, I built a chair out of completely cardboard just to learn about how the strength of cardboard, what it can do. I used the honeycomb of the bee hive to actually use that as the main structure and the idea behind it. I can support about 4 to 5 people on that chair. Anything can be considered creative because, for example, a mathematician is creative with numbers. You as the individual have to realize that every person that you interact with on a day-to-day basis has their own idiosyncrasies, they have their own creative aptitude. They may not see color or understand color like everybody else, right? But that does not mean that they're not creative. They're just creative in their own way. I mean, a person that can sell you a BMW versus somebody who sells you paint in a shop, they're all creative individuals. And the thing is, human beings are creative. We try and figure out every day how to get from point A to point B daily, how to do our jobs, live our life, and still have fun. So I don't think there is a position in the planet or in the scene out there that you can say that somebody is this and they're not creative. In the early years, if you team up with a group of people that each of you have feedback, so you have a friend who is a marketing person at a school, they help you market. Because I've met artists here that they've done that in the early years. Like, they have friends who one will help them with their own graphic work, do their business cards, and they feed work around each other. So they help develop each other.
Okay.
So that's one way as a group, to move as a group. Because again, as we've all learned, you're stronger in numbers. Time has value, and the thing is, it's like an old-time bartering system. I come with a goat to trade for something that you have. You have to look at my goat and value it against something that you value. It's a talking process. We have to come to an agreement that the value of what you have is equal to the value of what I have. And if the value that you have in your brain, you feel that it's more than what I have, we have to talk it out. It becomes a discussion. And you come to that agreement where my intellectual property, my creative mental ability has a value that I've placed on it. You come to an understanding that that's what I place on it. You might have a different decision, but again, we need to discuss it. being able to wake every day and be myself without consequence has been fun. And personally, as an artist, I've worked on a lot of major projects locally. For example, I was the art director on the America's Next Top Model when it was filmed here. That would have been one of my major successes. But I wouldn't have got that job unless my name out there and the people I work with helped me to get to that point.
Started off in children's art programs and then when I chose to go to university, I went to art school. I did my BFA in sculpture. And then after that, I worked in various sculpture studios and built work for other artists. And then I decided to, and that exposed me also to teaching. And then once I decided I wanted to teach and integrated teaching into my practice, I went and did my master's in sculpture in the States. Since then, I've been teaching college and university in art programs in the States and in Canada. And now I'm here as a senior lecturer in the sculpture department at Edna Manley. So the instruments that I create are playing with form and function and referencing his Caribbean, African, some American historical references in terms of how I come up with the design of the instrument. But for the most part, the instruments are based on local materials, and I allow the materials such as wood, goat skin, and the vessel in which it's creating the sound to allow that to help to determine the form as well. So responding to materials from around me. And we're rich in resources here in Jamaica, and the woods and various materials we have. So there's certainly no lack of inspiration from our resources. So I allow the natural resources to have a lot of impact to my creative process. Again, they start with a drawing. Both of these instruments behind me are commissions. The red instrument here is an Ethiopian harp called a krar, and so that instrument's for a musician in New Jersey. This instrument is going to North Carolina in the States. They begin with I harvest my materials directly from the tree, and I cure my wood over a period of a year. And that allows it to dry and not change shape. That aspect, that drying period is something that's crucial, because if our material is not processed properly, then it's going to change. And so in terms of the longevity of what's created, the preparation of the materials is crucial. Using local materials such as goat skin directly from the farmer, and woods, and just responding to our natural resources here in Jamaica has really allowed my work to mature quickly, because I'm responding to what's directly around me. And that has a monetary response because the world sees our resources and knows of Jamaica from music and culture and art and those things there. So to create something here in Jamaica from natural materials or from our local materials allows whatever we create to have an instant market worldwide. And one thing I tell my students at Edna Manley, where I also lecture, is that don't think that we live in Jamaica. As artists, we don't live in Jamaica, we live in the world, and we have access to the entire world. If you think of just our market being in Jamaica, you're gonna have a hard time putting food in your belly. It's just a reality. The hardest part is the marketing, the business of it. A lot of artists are not necessarily wired to the business aspect of it. Ask an artist to create, and they're happy. They could do it all day long, but As I say to my students at Edna Manley, creating something is one thing, but it's the context in which you place it that's going to determine its value. You can place an object in a commercial art gallery and it has so-and-so price. You can place it in the grill craft market and it has a whole different situation in terms of market value. But it's the same object. The only thing that has changed is context, which is determining the monetary value of the object. And that in itself has to be integrated into your creative process. This is number 350 that I've created. And so time has allowed things to become easier. When you're in need, certainly financial need, you tend to rush. You need to rush to pay your rent. You need to rush to pay JPS. You need to rush to do this and that. But time is the only thing that can take care of it. So I'd say one of my biggest challenges is just being patient. And also what I've realized over time, which is part of the business aspect, is to involve other people into what you do, because you have strengths, but like any business, it has to be treated like a business, whether you're starting a juicy or anything else. You have to involve other people, because you just can't do everything, because to bring people in with various skill sets can make what you do even stronger. So I now have a photographer, and I help have people doing my graphic work, and creation is one thing, but placing it into the context is another thing. And because I market my work worldwide, you have to respond to different markets. Like I get a lot of sales in Japan. I can't use the same marketing techniques as I do locally, So and it's learning those different cultures and how marketing functions within them. For my work is the people I've met, and the relationships that I've been able to create, and it really connects you to on the ground level. It connects you on every level, but what I get, I'd say a big part of what I get from what I do is just the personal relationships that I get, and which is referred to as networking. And networking is crucial within any business. Talent is 99% practice, which is true. I know it in music. It takes 10,000 hours of practice to get good at something, and that's just time. That's just sheer dedication. So time and dedication. But one of the biggest things that I confront within art students or people wanting to learn just in general is that you need to come to it with the belief that you can. Too often I can't do that. So as soon as you set up that barrier, it just prevents you on every aspect. So if you believe you can, and you have enough passion, and you're willing to put in the time, you can do anything you like.
And that's it this week for CAMEO. Even in the midst of our challenges, our creative industries continue to shine. I've been your host, Amita Prasad Webb.